Gary, good morning. It's the middle of January 2020 and I'm here to look at the Mikrotik point-to-point configuration, including what I call the poor man's mesh. So the situation, picking up from the first video, is that we've got two identical Mikrotik HAP AC2 routers, and the plan is that we're going to have an internet connection to one of them and a wireless connection between the first one and the second one. The first one's going to be called father, the second one's going to be called child. And that connection is going to be made across the 5 GHz radio. And then on both the father and the child, there's going to be an SSID that's being broadcast called, what is it called? Slave. And that SSID is going to be available to any device that's close by. In the lab here, both routers are sitting on my table, but in practice, the idea is you've got a large house, not our house, but a friend's house, and one router's in one room and the other router is in a far distant room. Okay. So what we're looking at on the screen so far is the Winbox configuration program, which is how you will talk to the Mikrotik router. And the idea is to walk you through the preparation of both the source and the target. They're almost identical, so that this configuration works. But first, a demonstration. So on the screen, we've got the traffic on the Wi-Fi interface that you're going to be connecting to. And off camera, I've got a laptop connected. And what I need to do is go to a speed test page and hit the enter key. So, press the go on speed test, and we shall see on the screen very shortly a massive increase in throughput. I don't know which one it's connected to, but let's say, right on the right hand side. So do you see that? 50, 40, 60 megabits per second. So this very nice graph is showing us that this router, which is the child router, child 1 up there, is receiving, it's doing the other upward bound speed check as well. So you can see that this is the router that's connected. If I disable this router, the traffic will in fact move to the second router here. Let's hit speed test again. So I've disabled this interface on the child. And this is looking at the SSID called slave. Here we are, there's the rush of traffic as speed test gets into gear. So that's just a quick visual to show that everything's working as designed. And if you look at the first video, you'd see that the internet connection comes into the first Mikrotik, and then there's just air, and there's the second Mikrotik which just has a power connector. Yet both of these routers have access to the internet. Okay, so how do we do it? So let's start from first principles and tell you that the Winbox is the Windows program that allows you to control the Mikrotik. It's got a whole variety of features. You download Winbox, it only runs on Windows, it doesn't run on macOS or OS X. So you've got a Windows PC in front of you. It's got the free Winbox program, and what you typically do is connect the output from your Ethernet, so not using a wireless connection. So if you've got a laptop without an Ethernet, get a USB to Ethernet connector and connect that typically into port 2 of the Mikrotik router. So fresh out of the box, you can plug it into port 2 and you should see both an IP address and a MAC connection. So if you look at the top of the screen, you'll see on the left hand side that the father router is connected via IP address, but the right hand side, the child machine, is connected via MAC address. So just to show you that when you click on refresh in neighborhood on the Winbox program to search for devices, what should come up is the single Mikrotik router that you're about to configure. So let's run through from start to finish what we're doing on the father machine, and then we'll do the child, but the child is basically the same, so I'll just tell you the difference. So you log in as admin, no password initially, and then what you're going to do is you can do a system reset configuration. Get rid of these windows so we're not polluting the tutorial. Right, so we're going to go to system reset configuration, and we're going to say no default configuration and no, don't back up the existing configuration. Then you can hit the reset configuration button. So then the entire configuration of this router will be blanked. And don't forget, there's a terminal window here. So everything that you do on the GUI can be done at the command line. And if you were to type the export command, this would tell you the series of command line commands that you could put back in to restore the configuration. So once you've done that reset, and if you were to open this terminal window and type export, you wouldn't see this long list of commands. It's not that long, in fact. But so a handy tip, by the way, is if you copy all of these commands and put them into a text file, so you've got a configuration that you want to keep that works, you can of course export this to a physical file, but what I tend to do is export it into a text file onto my PC, save it with the appropriate name and date, and then when I want to restore the configuration, I can open up the terminal window and just literally paste the text back into it. So that's how to save the Mikrotik configuration and also see how it's done what it's done when you've used the GUI. Okay. Anyway, so you've reset the configuration. You then connect back into the device. I would probably connect back using the MAC address as a start. And then we're going to go to the quick set wizard in the top left hand corner here. So you do a quick set, and this allows you to connect using, you make a quick setup of the router, and it's going to basically put those command line commands in and set up the router for you. So we're going to set it up as an access point. So there's different combinations here. Now, by the way, what I thought might work is the point-to-point bridge and the point-to-point bridge CPE. That one's supposed to be like the master and one's supposed to be the slave. Oh, that's going to work. That's exactly what I want. However, in true Mikrotik format, I couldn't find the documentation and it didn't work. So we're back to the WISP AP, which does work. So I think I'm very happy with that. So we're going to enter the following details here. I'll just go through them. So this is going to be the wireless interface that does the communication between the two units. So we're going to call the network name master. We're going to use Mikrotik's proprietary protocol NV2. But we're going to leave the frequencies 5180. We're going to only use AC networking. We're going to use a really fat band for the Wi-Fi between the two routers to give them maximum performance. And we're not going to set the country. If you set the country to your country, then your country might have certain restrictions on the frequency that the router may allow. So let's not set the country, shall we? Also here, we're going to set the key, which is what's going to link these two routers together, the password. On the right hand side, we're going to have a bridge, and a bridge means to say that there's only going to be one network on this father device. Called it father here. And I'm going to set up the network like this. And a word to some hackers if you're watching. This is a test network. It's behind about 3 firewalls. It's not the production network in our house. So if you did manage to hack into this, it'd be very unexciting. Yeah. So this is going to be the address of my device. This is going to be the net mask. This is going to be the gateway, which will eventually get to the internet through various different networking devices, which we don't need for this tutorial, and that's going to be the Google DNS. So when you'd hit apply, then OK, and that would, again, make the necessary command line commands and stick them into the router's configuration. Okay. So at this point, we'll have created a bridge with this IP address. Okay. So what we're going to do first, so we've done apply, we've done OK, we would then go to the bridge setting here, and what you need to do at this point is to make sure all the ports of your device are in this configuration. So to explain what a bridge is, Mikrotik has the ability to software connect various ports together, and they call that a bridge. Obviously, if you give the IP address to the bridge, then all ports in that in that bridge have that IP address. So for example, we will see in a minute that we've set the IP address to all of the ports in the bridge to the 1.65. But here, you need to make sure that all your ports are there. I think as supplied, when you've done the reset, Ethernet port 1 may not be in this bridge. So if it isn't, you'd have to do a plus, and then you'd add in the interface and what you're adding it to, bridge 1, and just hit apply and OK. But in our case, all the ports are there. Now, this has the benefit, of course, of, let's suppose you've got this first router called father, and you've got some devices you want to connect via a wire. So you can connect, this device has got 5 Ethernet ports, you could connect 4 ports, because you're using the first one port, port number 1 in this case, to connect your router to the internet. So that would be Ether 1. But the other ports could be connected to other devices. Okay. Now in my example, I'm not showing you the DHCP server. If I can remember, I'm going to tell you at the end where that's coming from. So this is the bridge device. You can see it's got all the ports in it. I've renamed some of these ports. One of them will be like WLAN 1. I think this will come up as WLAN 2. WLAN 1 will be the 2.4 gigahertz connection, and WLAN 2 is going to be the connection between the two routers. Okay, so we've got a bridge that's been defined. Now we want to actually configure the wireless of the what I call the backhaul, the 5 gigahertz connection, and the SSID called slave, which is going to be on either of the routers. So first we need to set up a security profile. So we go into wireless, we've got the two interfaces. You need to go into security profiles first and create a security profile. I mean, I've created one called slave, but you can just hit the plus key and you create another one. Okay, so I could call that Fred, and I want WPA2 only, so unclick that, and I want the password of the Fred security profile. I call it, say, Fred, for example, whatever I want to call it, random keys. Apply, okay, so you see I've configured a second security profile, Fred, which I'm going to refer to in a second. So I'll show you how to delete that, just click minus key there. So we've created a security profile called slave, could be called anything. I've just called it slaved, which is going to be the same as the SSID of the 2.4 gigahertz network. So if we go back to the interfaces, we're going to configure the 2.4 gigahertz interface. So double click on here, and this is a tabbed interface, so you need to go all the way to the left. You can keep going, keep going, keep going. It's remembered from where it was before, that's why it didn't show up. So you've got general here, which is where you name the interface. You can name anything. I've just called it 01 WLAN for wireless LAN 2.4 gigahertz, so I can see what I'm doing. Then you go into the wireless tab, and this is actually already in advanced mode. Let's just click here, you'll go into simple mode. So we'll see with simple mode there's less options. Obviously we want as many options as possible. So let's go into advanced mode. So this is, to repeat, the father, the source device. This is the 2.4 gigahertz wireless. We're setting it up as mode AP bridge, N-type networking only, options. It's going to have the maximum channel width for the maximum speed. We're going to set the frequencies 2412. We're going to broadcast the SSID called slave, and we're going to use the security profile called slave. We're using 802.11 wireless protocol, so your laptop can find it or your device can find it. We've not set the country domain. We've disabled things like multicast. It's not really important for this. We hit apply and then OK. So we've set up the 2.4 gigahertz radio. Now we need to set up the 5 gigahertz radio. So on the, in the wireless device, so you've clicked here, you've got this table. You click up to here. I've renamed it, I've called it 02 Master Connect. Click on wireless tab. I'm in see I'm in advanced mode. Here I'm setting up AP bridge, 5 gigahertz only AC networking, a whopping 80 megahertz fully XXX powered. Let's see the different waveforms. So Mikrotik is amazing in the sense you can actually generate the waveform of transmission. So this is saying that I want maximum transmission across the entire frequency band. This would be like saying, so the C would be like, this is actually a drawing of the amplitude across frequency. So this is saying across the frequency band, which is 80 megahertz wide, I want the maximum power at the beginning and then trail off. So that's the C is literally the actual shape of the amplitude. And XXX means maximum amplitude right across the 80 megahertz. So that's as powerful as we can make it. So you see the other settings are the frequency, the SSID called master, and we're using protocol NV2. So we've set that up here, and we need to make sure we've set the password for this network. So let's go into here and click on the NV2, and let's put the password in here. And we did this in the wizard, but we're going to be double checking, and let's put the password. You put the password in a second time here. Okay, so we've set the radio on the source. The 2 radios have been set, and really that's all we need to do. So now we need to go to we need to log into the child device. So again, you're going to plug this router in. You're going to connect your PC with an Ethernet cable into, I would say, port 2 of this device. Start fire at Winbox. You should see it probably come up as hostname Mikrotik. You've already changed this one to father, so you'll be able to detect the difference between the two. First of all, you're going to do your system, you're going to do your reset, etc. as before. You can do your quick set, and you can do a WISP AP here in the same way. So the difference is when you're configuring the wireless devices here, that the WLAN 2 is configured in the same way. Got the password in there, it's important. Oh, so many options. And you correct, this is 5 gigahertz. These must be identical, otherwise you're not going to make the connection. Now that's the same as on the source. Sorry, it's not the same. The key difference is that this is a station bridge. So let's go on here. This is an AP bridge. So the source is AP bridge, the target is a station bridge. And that's the key difference. Okay. As you can see, there's slightly less options. And you can see there's traffic between the two. I mean, one of the beautiful things about Mikrotik is that you can see absolutely everything. You can actually see the traffic in kilobits per second between the two devices. So that should be enough to get the backhaul going, and that should be enough to make your configuration work. Let's check a few other things in case you have some problems. Let's do IP addresses, and you'll see that this bridge device, which on both machines contains all the ports. Let's prove that. Go into bridge. See bridge number 1. What ports has bridge number 1 got? Yep, it's got all the ports. Ether 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's got the 2 radios. WLAN 2, didn't rename it, and WLAN 1. So you see the bridge has got all the ports. What's the IP address of the bridge? So I've done IP addresses. Brings up this window. Double click on there, you'll see I've got the bridge is of IP address 1.67, it's a 24 network, and the IP address is attached to bridge 1. Another thing that you're going to need is routes. So let's just do IP and routes. So you'll see that as a result of the wizard, we've set up a default gateway as 1.99. Now if this had a D there, that would be a dynamic route that would be set from a DHCP server. And indeed that brings on to the question, if I connect a device to this wireless, how is my connected device going to get an IP address? Now I haven't shown you how to set up a DHCP server here because these two devices are relying on a DHCP server in the test network. So I have another Mikrotik which provides some various admin functions in the test network, and this other Mikrotik has a DHCP server on it. So I'm not going to show you how to set up the DHCP server, but when you connect into the slave network with your PC or smartphone, then it's going to need an IP address and it's going to need a gateway to be given to it. And that comes from the DHCP server not shown. In the same way that if you connect a PC into the physical Ethernet port here, that's going to need an IP address also. So somewhere on your network accessible to these two devices needs to be a DHCP server. And just to make the point, there's a connection between this father and child device across this 5 GHz radio. So when you connect in on the 2.4 GHz radio on this secondary device, it's going to make that through connection to the DHCP server, of course, and get the IP address for you. So that's how to look at IP addresses, and you've seen how to look at routes. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. So system, we do system identity. This is what names the device as child 1. We've already seen how we can get a terminal here. And I can just do an export here. And you can see that's the configuration of this device as you would need to type it back in. It does include things like the password and so forth, so you need to be careful about this. Obviously these are just test passwords, so you can see here I use the password //slave / as my password to the slave network. Interesting. Here's the bridge statements, and here's the naming. Okay, I think that's it, Dari. I hope you enjoyed this brief explanation, and I hope it works for you. Thanks for watching.